Well, Russ, let's start by talking about the process of finding a new coach. Did you do the traditional make a list, pare it down, and get to a finalist, or did you zero in on your final candidate here in Steve?
Well, Steve was the first guy I brought in to interview, and was one of the very first guys that we had talked about. You kind of go through. It's quite lengthy because of the number of people that apply, and I believe guys that have coached in our league, I kind of owe them out of respect an interview, and so we went through that. But I really didn't get too far. There was a couple of experienced guys that looked like they might be in the pool. I talked to them. I quick ran to the point that because Steve had a job, and it was a matter if I didn't act, I was going to lose that window where I could go to him about leaving, because he felt obligated to Colorado, and I just decided that he was the guy we wanted, so I went ahead with it. Maybe it wasn't the traditional path. I didn't kind of weed through everyone and get down to a short list and then go from there. I kind of zeroed in very quickly and just decided that I had to act or I was going to lose this, and I didn't like that idea. So.
And what was it about Steve that drew him towards you rather than, as you mentioned, the traditional way of things? A coach opening becomes available. You get a lot of resumes and phone calls, I'm sure. Here's a case where you went to him and asked him if he was interested. What drew him to you?
Well, I think just what I'm saying. I didn't go to anyone that I didn't get a very positive. Everyone talked about how he approached the game and how hard he worked, and Steve was still going pretty strong in his career, and then had to stop because they came up with a health issue, and he didn't feel bad, so he kept getting second opinions, and then he decided, I've had a long good career, I've got a good family, I've got to quit. So he got into coaching, abruptly, I think, but had since grown and really, as he explained, really enjoyed the young players. So I was told he was part of that group that explored buying Portland a few years ago and was kind of part of that. And I knew he had an interest. I was told that he would look at it. So I approached him. I talked to him about it. I called Colorado, got permission, and it actually kind of went fairly smoothly from there.
So what is about him that makes him, in your estimation, the best available candidate for the job? What are his strengths?
Well, I think players are going to play hard for someone who's, he has respect as a player, but he also really excelled. He was, anytime you're a captain in the National Hockey League, you've kind of set yourself apart. You're kind of seen. I think he'll get across what we need to do. I think he knows very clearly. Really had a reputation for being a driven, hard-working guy. Colorado, it wasn't. He wasn't a guy that was out of work. They were going there. They're rebuilding. They had already had their summer meetings, planning on next season. They were full speed ahead. But I just think that he's got everything it takes to be a very successful coach. And he wanted the chance to be a head coach. I thought it was a real good fit for us.
Yeah, as you mentioned, he's somebody who had a job. He wasn't looking for employment. So was it a hard sell or an easy sell to convince him to come here to be the next coach?
Well, that's why I wanted to bring him in here. I think the rink a little bit, our dressing room, our setup, it kind of sells itself, and it's a real good environment for a coach. I think if you talk to people around, it was seen, even though we haven't had a couple of years a lot of success for a couple of years, it's seen as one of the best spots, the best jobs, and I think he really liked the idea of our age group. I think from that point it went fairly smoothly, and we brought he and his wife in and showed him around. Seattle sells itself in the summer, and it's a pretty good area, and I think he's excited about our group of players and the league. So I think it was legitimately, it was just a fit. He liked the idea. We liked the skill set and his personality that he brought, and I think together we got to a conclusion.
I know initially you had mentioned about how the league has gone here to these experienced coaches. In some places you might call them name coaches, and that you were looking maybe for somebody who had experience at a higher level. He's been with Colorado for the past 2 years. Not necessarily the head coaching experience. I think he had 1 year in Fernie in Junior B, but obviously he's a guy who's played in the NHL, so if you follow hockey, you know him. How big was that part of his resume to you in making the hire?
Well, I think it was important. I think someone with a tie to pro hockey and someone who had the experience that just automatically would have respect. That doesn't carry you if you don't have the substance, but there's nothing in Steve's resume that leaves you think he'll be short. He's got a tremendous reputation, and even now in Colorado, every player there that the guys that I was checked with, I mean, very willing to stay later and show you things and try and make you better, and he's just a guy who's gone after coaching the same way he played, and that's a recipe to be successful, but it was just a real good fit for us. I think we have to, when you coach young players, you got to be prepared to show them and explain things and show it again, and then you got to sell your ideas, and then you got to make sure that and then you got to adhere to it. But I think all those things are in place. I think we wanted someone who's been there, knew what it takes to get to the National Hockey League, because that's what our guys aspire to do.
Well, I know general managers don't like to have to go through coaching searches because they like to have the guy in place, but it seems like you feel you got the guy to fit perfectly for you.
Well, we did. We were very happy with, being able to get Steve. I think we would have been a little while had we not been able to do this. I think because things haven't sorted out. The NHL hasn't made all their selections and all that stuff. So there might be a coach or two when the musical chairs end, but we would have lost this chance, and we just didn't want to wait. So, I think a guy who chose us and wants to be involved at this level is something that was attractive, rather than just waiting until there was no more jobs and a guy comes to you as a second choice. And that wasn't something. There might be some real good people, but this was a move that looked like a real good fit for us. We wanted to act on it.
Well, lastly, now that you've got the coaching search out of the way, you've got your new head coach in place, certainly have to be looking forward to moving forward now into the next season.
Well, we do. We have to. Turner's moving on and is looking at going to the American League. He's had a couple of opportunities. I'm not sure yet where that'll be, but he told me he was pretty sure and he was going to move on. So we now are. I've talked to Steve this morning. We actually had an interview today, and we're going to act quickly to fill our assistant coaching position and go from there. So that's the next thing for us. And then, training camp gets here quick in junior hockey, and we start in August. So we'll get that filled, and then we'll do a little planning and let the guys get moved, and then we'll be ready to start.
Yeah, just around the corner. Russ, thanks.
Good. Thanks, Tom.